Let's be clear what's happening in this country. It's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race. Sure, you noticed, but never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man, it's the top of the pile.
I'm on the top of the pile. That's me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
What is racism?
Martin Luther King said not to judge people by the...
Martin Luther King said a lot of stuff.
Is America inherently racist?
What the hell is that?
The word inherent is challenging there. America is racist to its bones. All of the...
So inherent.
Yeah.
The entire system has to burn. And I'm not going to even use save this country. This country is not worth saving. This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
They gonna say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. Where are you guys in your anti-racist journeys? So I'll look around the room and point to who we believe is the most racist person in the room. We want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. Would you mind signing it? You will? What do you think about this issue of heteronormativity and how it intersects with the broader structures of racism in society?
They gonna say I'm racist.
What's up with white people? What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that?
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. White.
Folks.
White.
Trash.
White supremacy.
White woman. White boy.
White.
Entitlement.
White.
Centering.
White.
Silence.
Is there a black person around here?
There's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
They gonna say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi. And what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Matt. Hi,
Yeah.
Matt.
Nice to meet you.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist, but they call.
Well, good morning.
Oh, I'm in the center. Wow. All right, cool.
What y'all just saw was the trailer for the movie that came out called Am I Racist by Matt Walsh. And today's video is going to be focusing on the topic of that mockumentary, which is fantastic. If y'all haven't seen it, Patriots, y'all need to go out there and see it right now. I know Cinemark Theaters is showing it, but our goal today is to talk about that, showcase how much of a fraud these race hustlers are, and then show the connection to Scripture as I always do. So we got Joel, we got Michael. Good morning, guys. How are y'all today?
Morning.
I would say top of the morning to you, but I've already been creating content for an hour and a half.
All right, bye, guys. Before we go, I think we should all point to the most racist person on this podcast.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Right? Look at this. I mean, I'm just screaming. I'm blonde hair and blue eyed and wearing an American flag. Oh, it's bad, guys. It's
Okay,
really
well then let's all point to Ben then.
No, it's that way. I'm going to point over you.
I thought
over Joel. It's not Joel. It's that guy on the other side.
Well, that's
Well, hold on a
good.
second.
I'm glad
Michael's
you
been around for 600 years, so he might be the most racist.
More experience, right? You know.
Well, thanks for clearing that up, Ben, because I thought it was me, but I can see clearly it's you. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the hit on that.
But yeah, I know Joel, you said to me backstage that you've seen the movie. Michael, have you seen it yet?
Oh, I haven't. I want to see it. Actually, there's like three
really good
documentaries that I want to see right now. And this one, I mean, apparently it's doing gangbusters in theaters.
It's really good. And it's funny because a lot of theaters won't show it, but Cinemark, to give them credit, they have been showing it in their theaters.
I saw it in a Regal theater.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay.
Regal Carlsbad, yeah. So,
and on Rotten Tomatoes, it's gotten very high audience scores. But what's funny?
To interrupt you, I checked it out when you mentioned the topic, and I went to the actual Rotten Tomatoes page, and the rating wasn't there.
Really?
And I was like, oh, that's, and I checked other movies and they had the ratings on it. So I thought, oh, something's up here. But then I went to the homepage and they had it listed on, one of the, how they have the different movies listed. And
Yeah.
it had the rating there. I think the critics rating was like 78%. So I think even the critics are saying this is a pretty good job.
So the best part about this is it is more of a comedy than a serious documentary. But the beautiful thing about this is all of it is completely real and authentic. And so here's what they did. Here's a little behind the scenes fun fact. While Matt's team was making this, they told all these people that they're making a documentary called Shades of Justice, leading them to think that this documentary was supporting how horrible white people are and this race hustling agenda. Okay. They led them to believe that, so that every interaction you'll see in this movie is real. So when Matt's sitting down with these people, these hypocrites on the far left who are explaining, they're doing their best to try to explain how horrible white people are. Okay. That's real. None of it's fake. And then after the film came out, when these people realized who Matt really was, they canceled all of their Twitter accounts, all their X accounts. They don't want to face the backlash. They don't want to face people holding them accountable. And so this is geared as a comedy. And so before I give you all the floor, the great thing about comedy is it started in ancient Greece, and it was meant to call out the hypocrisy. It was meant to expose what's wrong in society. And one of my favorite professors in grad school said something that stuck with me. He said, the reason why the Soviet Union survived for so long was because they banned comedy. You could not be a comedian in the Soviet Union because they would then expose the horrors of what's really going on. So on that note, the topic of what does God say about identity politics? This whole shtick of making you feel bad because you're white. What are y'all's thoughts about that? Go.
Let me chime in here first. And it's common practice. In fact, I think it's standard operating procedure in filmmaking to use a false name in production, right? Around here, you'll every now and then you'll see a sign posted somewhere, and they're all distinctive. They're like these yellow background with the black arrow, and then have the name of the production, and it's temporary signs put up for the production vehicles to know where the shoot location is if they're on their way. It'll like and it's always just some name, but it's not a real name. And sometimes it's because they actually haven't settled on what the final name of the project is.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right.
And so I know Robin DiAngelo, who we saw in the clip there, she had claimed or was planning on suing for, deception, right? They misled me. I'm like, her lawsuit has no standing. There would be no standing whatsoever. It's standard operating procedure. So I just wanted to make that comment. And then as far as comedy, like the court jesters, right? The court jesters in the palace, those are the political commentators, right? They were doing some sarcasm and some satire and risking themselves. And there's probably a few court jesters who had their head lifted from their bodies because they told the wrong joke, right? But it was but comedy being, well, in the media or in the entertainment industry, in your standard film class in college, they'll say, okay, how many genres, right? How many genres of film are there? And kids are like, oh, there's Westerns, and there's science fiction, and there's drama, and there's war, and there's courtroom, blah, blah, blah. Like this one professor, I'm like, nope, there's only two. There's only two genres: tragedy and comedy. And comedy doesn't mean slapstick, funny. Right. It's happy ending. Right? Tragedy is sad ending. Comedy is happy ending. And there's always humor, even in the tragedies. There's going to be humor, but humor is essential to the arts because it's a vehicle where people will embrace truth in a way that they otherwise wouldn't have. You tell a joke, there's always truth laced into the joke. So there's my 2 cents.
Absolutely. Joel, what are your 2 cents?
Oh, it's funny. I know Michael, I don't know if you know this, but the director was the same one that directed No Safe Spaces. So
John Sullivan?
no,
Matt? Wait, who directed?
no, Justin.
Sorry, John was the writer of No Safe Spaces.
Yeah, it was. But anyways,
Justin.
those you
I
don't
don't know
know
the last name, but I recognize the first name.
I do because I know him very well, but I just can't think of it right now. But years ago, I invested on a movie with Dennis Prager and Adam Carolla, and the production team was the same, so I know these guys. And it's funny how the comedy. I mean, Matt Walsh is. At first, I thought he was the most serious guy I'd ever heard. I mean, years ago, he was just a blogger, and he wrote all these blogs, and they were just kind of rants, and they weren't funny at all. They didn't seem funny to me, but everybody was posting them because he wasn't saying anything really unique or anything. He was just saying what everybody felt. And I'm like, well, there's lots of people saying this. Why Matt Walsh? I could never quite understand why he got so big. But, and then when he went with Daily Wire, again, he comes off as such a serious guy. That's the only way he could pull this off. He's really a natural comedian. He's the funniest guy on the Daily Wire.
It's deadpan. His deadpan.
It's deadpan, and his voice is so low, and his face is just so, I kind of wish he would have shaved the beard when he did the costume. That would have, because he was still recognizable. Because I know him, right? In that one scene,
right? He wasn't recognizable. That's what's so funny.
Yeah,
the left is in a bubble. They're in a bubble. They don't know.
That's the point.
Well, there was a scene though that he was in that group in the trailer when the lady's asking him to leave. No spoilers, but
in the very beginning,
they suspected because of his behavior. Sums up with it. Who is this guy? His name is Matt or whatever. So, anyways, but he is a natural comedian, and only because it's the flip side of his real serious self. I mean, tragedy is comedy. Most comedians I know, so I've worked with a lot of comedians on my podcast network. They're the most. Some of them are the most dark, troubled, serious people I know one comedian. He's not that good a comedian, but when you get him talking about really deep stuff, he's the best you've ever heard.
Yeah.
So there's this, like Mike said, there's this tragedy comedy flip side. I don't know how they can't be separated from one another. Is what I'm saying. And the brilliance of this movie is he just let them. His comedy is very minimalistic. It's very subtle.
Right.
He just lets them finish the joke. Really, that's what he's doing.
That's the whole joke.
Yeah.
The entire movie is great because you can't really sue Matt because there was no lies.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have been so funny and so effective if they hadn't said what they said.
Right. Exactly.
Matt was like, there was no point in the movie where he said, "You people are crazy. You people are nuts."
Exactly.
He just showed everyone how crazy and nuts they are. So.
Exactly. Matt, what he did was brilliant. So, like I said before, he came across as this is a documentary to support what you believe, right? And so, what's so crazy is Matt would meet these people, and they would charge thousands of dollars. I'm talking $1,500 all the way to $30,000 to $50,000 just to have this person tell you how horrible you are.
Yeah.
There's one scene in the film where there's an event called Race to Dinner, and it's race as in your race, and it's basically these two women who aren't white telling all these other white women at this dinner table how horrible they are, and each woman paid like $3,500 per person. And Matt infiltrated that by being a server. He was just serving these women dinner, and it was all recorded for this documentary, right? But what's so brilliant is the audience, us, are seeing these people are nothing more than race hustlers. They are nothing more than wolves in sheep's clothing. And that leads me to the verse that I found that I think works well with this. And I'm sure you guys have
Jesse Jackson.
right?
Race hustlers, man.
Jesse Smollett. Okay. Here we go. So here's the verse for today. We got
Or Juicy Sommelier, as
oh
somebody calls
gosh,
it.
yeah. We got 2 Peter 2. Michael or Joel, whichever one. If y'all could read just this top part here, this
All right.
summarizes the whole
Joel,
topic very well.
Joel.
My turn? Okay. But false prophets also appeared among the people, just as there will also be false teachers among you who will secretly introduce destructive heresies, even denying the master who brought them, bringing swift destruction upon themselves. Many will follow their indecent behavior, and because of them, the way of truth will be maligned. And in their greed, they will exploit you with false words. Their judgment from long ago is not idle, and their destruction is not asleep.
I love that. I found that this morning and I was like, that's perfect. Because at the end of the day, this is a controversial statement. We're all equally broken. And all lives do matter because God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. And those who choose to follow Christ as their king will have everlasting life. So this whole notion that sadly a lot of fellow believers have given into is that, oh, because of my skin color, I'm a horrible person. There's nothing, not one word in scripture that supports that. And as a historian watching this movie, it's hilarious. I loved it, but I also got so annoyed at many points because these race hustlers who are telling you how horrible you are, they're just conveniently ignoring all of human history. They only focus on a small bit of American history, and that's it. They're not talking about the Arabic slave trade. They're not talking about the African kingdoms that conquered and enslaved their own kind. They're not talking about the tribes in North America who conquered and enslaved their own kind long before the white man came. They're not talking about that. Oh, no. They're not talking about the Aztecs and human sacrifices and slavery. No. Because it goes against their narrative.
Hey, careful. I'm an Aztec.
Oh, well, listen. Hey,
San Diego State.
Live, laugh, love. Am I right?
Yes, our mascots are the Nazis of ancient America. Go Aztecs.
So, anyways, for my closing point from my point of view in all this is this film was so good because it used comedy to expose the truth, and the truth is this is all just back to identity politics. When people are so distracted by this topic or this topic or this topic, you will have wolves in sheep clothing. You will have these hypocrites who only want money. They don't care about the actual truth.
Can I take it to the Christian world? You could make a movie like this in the Christian world.
Oh, yeah.
Because identity politics has completely destroyed the mainline denominations. Almost. Almost. I know, Michael, I know you're a Presbyterian minister. Michael, you and I talked about this. I don't know, Ben, it was on your show or when Michael and I were doing our Wednesday show, but when you see a rainbow colored flag in a church window, that is not a sign of inclusion. It's not a flag of inclusion. That's a flag of conquest. Okay. That means we have conquered this church and what these people are doing with their grifting, right? With their con jobs in this movie is they're making money off of good people's good intentions, people's desire to be good. It's the same thing that's happening in the church. And Peter is talking to the church on this. He's saying, hey, there's going to be wolves in sheep clothing. They're here and they're in our churches and they're playing the identity politics game. And the mainline denominations, by and large, have been conquered by this, and now they're coming after the evangelical. The Catholic Church is going fast, and now the evangelical church is going. I tell a story of my old church, a big Southern California mega church, very influential church, that got caught up in identity politics during the recent 4 years ago
George
incident.
Floyd.
Yeah, I don't know what will get us demonetized if I talk about, but and the pastor did the worst possible thing he could do. He introduced racial politics to his church, and I wrote him emails, and anytime I can grab him, I begged him, do not do this. Do not go down this road. The previous pastor, who was still an advisor to him, said, do not go down this road. He wanted a virtue signal. He went down this road. He was having pressure from his family, for sure, was pressuring him to do this. And many people in the church, because it's a young, hip, happening church, right? And sure enough, he went down that road, and it fractured that church. And it was the worst leadership I've ever seen, and worst leadership move I've ever seen in all my time as church. And this is a wonderful church. Don't get me wrong, but they are their desire is to be such a blessing, that they closed their doors during the, that thing, to show everyone how much they love the community. They were going to close down. They were going to disobey God's command to not forsake meeting together by closing down, by show the world they loved him. No, that's not right. And and they were going to virtue signal how woke they were by having this, introducing racial politics, and it destroyed the church. It didn't destroy the church, but it badly hurt the church. So there, it's coming for us, and you could make a movie about churches this way too, and they would do the same thing. They would, by their own words, they would condemn themselves.
Right.
And all you would have to do is do what Matt Walsh did. So
there are two, obviously, forces, opposing forces at work here. And, the beauty of technology, makes this possible, right? It's God has created us to be creators, and we've been very creative and innovative. And so we have the technology, and the beauty is that information is instantly accessible. So the truth is always there, right? It's more accessible than ever before. At the same time, the other force is foreign interests or globalists wanting to use these tools to shape the narrative, to pit our enemies, cause internal turmoil within our enemies, right? There's tons of communist money coming in to the coffers of Black Lives Matter, right? And it's like the rest of the world looks at us and go, America, racist? Ha! They haven't seen racist. Go to China, they don't even think Black people are human, practically, right? It's like such a homogeneous culture over there.
North Korea too.
Right.
Yeah,
and
Japan.
that's just an example, right? And
Yeah,
that's just an example. But for anybody to think that American slavery is the issue that we need to spend all of our time correcting, it's been corrected. It's modern day slavery. There are slaves all around the world right now. People really cared about humans and innocent humans being enslaved.
They would go to Africa.
They would turn their attention to the human trafficking, right? The modern slave trade that is happening everywhere. It's present in the United States, right?
That's coming across the border 30 miles south of me. Yes.
There are human beings probably within a 10-mile radius of all of us right now that are locked away in some sweat factory or sex den, right? It's like there are horrific things happening right now. Human slavery, present evil that's everybody's being distracted by these, like Robin DiAngelo. What a patsy, right? What a patsy. Sorry, get me off on a rant. I've already said enough inflammatory stuff.
Well, Michael, what you say is so true. And there was one guy that Matt did interview who wrote a book called Hate Crime Hoax. And this one dude who's also Black, he was saying it's like, these are all lies. What we need to talk about is the problem about mass hysteria and how we just blatantly believe what the media is forcing down our throats without talking about the real issues, like the economy, like black on black crime, like the destruction of our borders, like the destruction of the nuclear family. And of course, Matt's alter ego was like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about that because that doesn't feel good. And at the end of the day, it's what makes these people money. Human trafficking doesn't make these race hustlers money. Race does. And there was the film ended with a quote by the legendary Thomas Sowell. Here's that quote. Michael, if you could, sir, read that quote for me.
Racism is not dead, but it is on life support, kept alive by politicians, race hustlers, and people who get a sense of superiority by denouncing others as racist. Thomas Sowell, one of the most brilliant minds.
Protect this man at all costs.
Yes.
should be emblazoned as a hero of heroes, like Clarence Thomas, Thomas Sowell, Ben Carson. Like these brilliant minds happen to be black, right? It's like brilliance is, nobody has a monopoly on it, and I just love it that when they say something true and somebody hears it, they may react, and then when they see him, they're like,
sorry, but just as brilliant and just as effective was the guy in the movie sitting with Matt in front of his auto shop who had been there since 1971. And he's like, what are you talking about? What book? He says, if I had a book like that, I just throw on the ground. Not sophisticated, not using the high educated words that Thomas Sowell uses, but he's Thomas Sowell's doppelganger, whatever you call it.
He was an immigrant that came from
yes.
British Guiana, and he opened up an auto shop in the small town, and he's black. And of course, Matt Walsh, the character, was like, "Yeah, but don't you care about this and this?" And the guy's like, "What? No, we all bleed the same blood.
Yeah,
we're all humans. Like, I don't understand what's going on."
Yeah, he goes, "I got a copy of White Fragility in my truck, my car. Do you want it?" He goes, "I would just throw that book on the ground."
I have the Bible.
He goes, "Don't buy that." So, yeah, which is really saying exactly what Thomas Sowell sophisticatedly said.
Yeah,
he said, racism. Yeah. We don't need to keep that alive.
To me, it didn't help that Robin DiAngelo's book skyrocketed on the bestsellers list during 2020.
Yeah,
it didn't help that everyone was locked away. They couldn't do things normally, and that was a perfect petri dish for garbage like this, because people were so locked away and they couldn't think for themselves. That's what was so sad from that time. So many people couldn't just think for themselves, and so they started believing what these external forces were telling them. But then the good news that I'm seeing, at least now, is more and more people are being comics. They're willing to call out what they see. They're willing to say, wait a second, that's not right. I'm going to make fun of it because it's stupid and it's clearly not right. And that's what makes these people so scared, to the point that they delete their social media accounts because they don't want to face the truth. They don't want to face people saying, hey, you're a liar and you're a hypocrite. More importantly, you're a thief. You're stealing people money for what? For an hour of them telling you you're bad and you will always be bad.
The arts are where the battle is won or lost, right? And Jesus was a storyteller, right? Jesus was the A-list celebrity of his day. Like, he was explosive on the scene, right? He was like, who is this sensation? I want to go listen to his speech, right? Him tell stories. And as evil as Hollywood is, it's the comedians, it's the artists who are like, a true artist doesn't care if you're making money off it. They're just going to be an artist. And those are the people you can't suppress. You can't shut them up. Right. So God is in control.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Awesome discussion, guys. Michael, you need to go see the movie. Everyone listening, watching, please go see the movie. Am I Racist? It's worth every penny.
It is.
So
I'll catch it this
second
week.
that.
All right.
Done, Patriots. Have a
everybody.
wonderful day, guys. Bye.
Bye.